This is the Nexx. Oh boy. Oh boy. Oh boy. It's this hotness. It looks tiny. All right, guys, let's crack it open. They don't want me to open it. Okay. Oh, look at this. Single swing arm, high speed, grease shock system, slip and lock system, timing belt tensioner, full 7075 CNC aluminum, high quality 3K carbon fiber, full stainless steel hardware, 5500 kV brushless motor, and an Emax digital servo. Dude, it's tiny. Here's my monster truck. Here's a Mini Z. It's literally, wow. Wow. It's way smaller than we thought it was going to be. Uh-oh. Grub screw. Don't lose that. Be careful when you're opening it. Look at it. Oh, so cool. Man. Okay. This is exciting. Freaking exciting. Super sticky tires. Okay, guys. Make sure you like, subscribe, and do those things. We're going to check this thing out. It's so cute. Mini Z. Motorcycle. Let's go. Comes with the motor. Comes with the servo. There's an Emax servo in there. All you need is an ESC, your receiver, and a battery. What? Sick. So to pull the body off, you've got these little O-rings that are on each mount, essentially. The rider has 3, and the front fairings have the 4. It's pretty simple. And you probably aren't usually going to have to remove the rider, unless you're doing some work in there. Oh, nice. It's got rubber grommets around the shock. Front shocks feel really good. Ooh, the front tire. Do they need glued? I wonder if they need glued. Yeah, they're not on there very tight. So I'm kind of curious if they need some sort of tape or glue. Or maybe they're meant to be a little loose. Maybe that helps with stability. I'm not sure. I know nothing about RC motorcycles. There's your Emax in there. Tiny little belt. Some adjustments. You can also adjust here. So it's basically a slipper clutch. Chassis, I guess rails or frame are labeled left and right. It comes with some little safety rails. That's what our little grub screw that we saw pop out, that's what that was for. It's for these chassis rails. Comes with the tools. These little guys. If I can get it in there. I guess we need to loosen this bad guy. I mean, it feels good. It's got some weight to it, but not too heavy, obviously. Doesn't feel like there's a whole lot of slop. The steering seems a little interesting. I don't know if this needs tightened up a lot or something, but there is some interesting play in there. Maybe it's supposed to be. Again, I don't know. Oh, these actually slide through. Okay, well that's good to know. You can actually push them. Well, this one hits the Emax servo. I'm sure you can get it to fit if you really wanted to, though, if you wanted to make them shorter. All right, so we're going to get our electronics in there and just see if we can make it go a little bit. It's so cool looking. I don't know, there's something about it. I love it. All right, we're going to use we've got a Momentum, Veritech Momentum. And We're going to use that for now. Then we've got our little Noble receiver. We do have some DAS Micro Noble receivers that have an ESC built in. And it's a single board. It's just a little bit bigger, but it's got an ESC built in. So that'll be really cool because it's going to be very, very tiny. It's a brushless ESC, obviously. I think it's using the PN board. So if you're a fan of that, great. If not, then maybe it's not for you. But we liked that it was kind of an all-in-one tiny thing. And for much smaller things or things you want to be super lightweight on, this is a good use for that probably. Anyway, we're going to figure this out, figure out how we want to mount it, and then we'll show you how we mounted it. I wanted to just point out that these little rubber body mounts, they're just held in by some screws. And you can literally just unscrew it if you're having a hard time getting your grub screw tight or in on these, because they're right in the way of the grub screw. You can easily just unscrew these right here. Then you can get to that much easier. Okay, then you just screw it back on. These are kind of rubbery body mounts. You can just kind of hand tighten them down. Just like so. You also get this little Velcro strap, which you can tuck through this here, and it's for your battery. So you kind of work that through. We're going to go ahead and do this before we actually get all of our electronics installed so we know where the Velcro goes. Now getting it through this other side of the chassis might be a task. Maybe. Oh, nice, we got it. Not too bad, not too bad. Then you can just wrap your battery in. So we know where that goes, and now we can mount our ESC and receiver. We're probably going to do the ESC something along the lines of this. We'll bring this down. Then we'll figure out a way to do the battery. And then our receiver will just be on this side. We'll do something sort of like that. We'll run the wire through the center here. Our wire should be pretty clean.
A few moments later.
All right. So we've got it all mounted up. We're soldered in. I know it's not the most beautiful wire job. We didn't realize how much longer this cable. We cut them all equally, and then we realized we needed a lot longer one here, so we had to kind of solder it and move it and whatever. But it's all hooked up. It's all good. We could shorten that one if we wanted, but we'll deal with it later. We have our ESC here. The wire runs through the chassis, comes out through here, same spot as the servo wire. Our battery plug. And the battery, and I don't know the best way to put the battery in. I assume sort of like so with the plug, or probably like this actually. And then we can tuck it back and it'll plug in. I'm not sure. We probably will want to shorten our ESC wires once we're 100% sure which ESC we're going to run. But I should be able to hook it up here. We're going to use our Noble. We're using this Noble. Now, one of the key things for this, yeah, we're going to have to do something else with the wire here. We'll probably tuck it up on the side or something. I'm not sure. Once we get the fairing on, we can figure it out. Steering here is very interesting, and it is very, very sensitive or precise. So the first thing you want to do is set your endpoints super low, like way low, because just the littlest amount of servo movement maxes out the steering. That's the max on the steering. Okay, so that's the max. And you'll actually feel the forks hit on the side of the frame. You can kind of hear it. So when that fork hits, that's your endpoint. You don't want it to go any further than that. And then you can tighten up your springs. You kind of want to get your springs not super tight, but tight enough to where it'll hold it straight, right? This might still be too loose. But again, I've never done motorcycles, so maybe you do want a little loose. I'm sure the gyroscopic effect of the wheels is going to help keep it straight anyway. So we won't know till we try to drive it a little bit. But again, our endpoints are super low. Okay. So just keep that in mind. And again, you can adjust this. You want it to be equal. We also noticed that this little mount here was pretty loose. So we tightened it up. I don't know. It was like basically moving as this moved. So I don't think that's how it's supposed to go. I'm pretty sure it was just loose from the manufacturing and assembly of it there. Again, well, these come already assembled. You saw that. You're going to want to check a lot of your screws. Just double check, make sure they're tight. We saw that one of the grub screws was out. You want to just be sure to kind of just check some things. You know, if something seems loose, you want to know. Again, you don't need to tighten them. Just make sure they're not loose. Okay. I don't know what size that big guy is there, but everything else, those are a little loose, but they're not really functional. And you don't want to over tighten them anyway. They're just going into this aluminum here. They're all 1.5s. And you will have to glue or tape the tires because that happens. That was actually the first time that's happened. I guess it's because we were laying it this way and the swing arms on that side. But yeah, I figure some tire tape, just like from Mini Z tire tape around there and then around the front. You can use the thin tire tape. It should be fine. But yeah. She goes. Very cool. So we're going to get our fairings back on, our rider back on. We're going to figure out this situation, and we will tape our tires. And then maybe we'll drive it around or something. Super cool. A couple other things I wanted to point out. They do give you zip ties to mount your electronics and whatnot. We added our Bluetooth because we had to switch directions on our motor and we wanted to adjust the brake and whatnot. They recommend you run with no reverse. We're going to run with reverse. It doesn't matter. Just don't hit reverse, I guess. But it might be able to help swing us around to get us facing the right direction before we go up again. But we're going to go ahead and tape the tires. We're just using regular Mini Z PN tire tape. And yeah, should be good. With the Furatech, we're using the Furatech Momentum, and with that, you can't just reverse it on your remote because then your brakes are reversed. So when you try to give it throttle after braking, it's a brake instead of a, you know, if you go forward reverse, it goes instantaneously reverse, and then when you try to go forward again, it brakes because it's reversed on the remote, not the ESC. So you have to change it in your ESC. And hopefully this tire tape will hold. It should. And kind of once it cures, it seems to hold pretty well. So worst case, I guess you glue them. You really don't want to glue them, but I guess worst case you do. They are aluminum. The wheels are aluminum. So if you glue them and then have to like acetone them, or I don't know, whatever you use to get glue off. We don't really glue tires to rims on anything but our Mini Bs, and then we toss them basically when they're done. But I think you just acetone them off. So hopefully that'll hold. Let's try the front now. I don't know how we're going to do this because it's much thinner than our tape. I guess we'll just have to cut it. Guess you could just try to put a single piece over the center and then let it wrap around the edges of the center ridge. I don't know. We're learning. Maybe we just wrap it around. Oh, that seems bad. What are we doing? Well, we'll see how that does. That was not ideal. Ideally, we'd have tape that's the right size, or we'd lay a strip out and cut it in half. I don't know. Seems okay. All right, so we're all taped up. We also have a painted body. Let's go. We had one of our local guys at our Mini Z track paint this up for us. Looks pretty cool. Pro tip on this, put some Scotch tape on the inside where the holes go. That way you are less likely to chip the paint around the body mounts. Because over time, if you take the body off, you'll end up chipping the paint if there's not something there to kind of help protect it. And Scotch tape will do just fine. Pretty sweet. We also have this guy here, and so we're going to get that painted up. Why don't you tell me in the comments below what color scheme we should go with this? This one was supposed to be red, silver, and black. Unfortunately, he ended up backing it with white, and it made the red not dark. It's a little bit more pink looking now, which is fine. We still think it looks awesome. And then he backed it with black afterwards. Trying to figure out what to do with this. We were maybe thinking the Joe Camel, the purple yellow, like Joe Camel from back in the late 90s, early 2000s. That could be pretty cool looking. I don't know. Tell me in the comments below. What color scheme should we go with this one? We kind of wish that Nexx had done all this hardware in just silver or black. At least the wheels. It would have been nice to have those just done in a regular, like a raw aluminum or black. So, yeah. Let's go ahead and show some footage of this little guy running around. We were hoping to get some footage at the Mile High Grand Prix that we had. You know, we thought maybe we could run them on a large track, but they're just, you need way too large of a track. You can't run them on RCP. They are just, they need more space than that. We had 4 wide tiles. You would need basically a 5 wide track, 5 wide tiles the whole way. So 250 centimeters wide to be able to probably run them. You could maybe run them on a 4 wide if you got real good, but you're going to have a lot of marshalling to help turn them back around and whatnot. Either way, we ran them out and on the carpet while we were there a little bit. And also we got some footage at a local park. So we'll be doing more videos on these. So this isn't probably the last time you'll see them. We'll definitely be talking about stuff and showing more footage as we get it. All right, let's go ahead and run that footage.
You gotta get some speed in it. You gotta get them wheels moving.
Can you get it, buddy? Well, I hope you kind of enjoyed that and got to see a little bit of what they look like running around and kind of the surface you need to run them on. They definitely need a lot of space. You definitely need a fairly smooth surface. It doesn't have to be super smooth. I mean, a newly paved parking lot would be perfect. Just got to watch out for any kind of larger rocks. But even then, you saw they could hit stuff and flip around, and they take a beating. I mean, we beat the heck out of this guy, and hadn't had any issues. We had one screw get loose on one of the body mounts underneath here, and we tightened that back up. Always make sure after you run it a couple times, check your screws, make sure nothing's getting loose. But besides that, I mean, it took a beating. Awesome. The quality of these things is amazing. I mean, they've got some weight to them, and they just feel super quality. Great job from Nexx on these guys. On this one, we ended up gluing the tires. We taped the tires on this one. I think either way works. Earlier before, we mentioned different colors on these wheels, but what I really think they need is weight. I was talking to one of the guys locally, and he was saying, well, maybe you could do some brass or steel discs to help weigh these down. I think they should maybe have just made the wheel out of brass. I'm pretty sure they're just aluminum, but if they were made out of heavyweight brass, that would probably help the standing up and the gyroscopic effect, because again, these guys have no actual gyro in them, centrifugal gyro. You're relying strictly on the centrifugal force of the wheels, keeping them upright. So if you don't have enough speed, that's why you see them flop over a lot, because you just didn't have enough speed. And also, I'm not the best driver. This is the first time I've ever driven a motorcycle, RC motorcycle. We ride a real motorcycle. We got a Ducati 848. And, the counter steer effect when you're below a certain speed causes it to just kind of throw itself the opposite way. Whereas normally it's supposed to kind of, if you at speed, if you turn this way, it's going to lean the bike, and that's going to cause your bike to turn, right? If we're going like this, you turn right, it actually leans you and you go left. But if you're going really slow and you turn right, it'll actually try to turn right, and then the bike will just kind of flop over or, do weird things. There's weird physics that happen on a motorcycle depending on which speed you're at, if you got enough speed or gyroscopic effect. Anyway, I think if you're interested in a motorcycle, these are, again, they're quality. And if you've got the space to run them, man, they are a blast. I mean, they are fun. They are really fun. Even with my horrible driving, they are fun. And the learning curve is a little steep, but again, just get out there and drive them around, and you'll get there eventually. But you do need a little bit of space. You can't run them on a mini Z-Track. You got to have a decent size. If you got a local, basketball court nearby or tennis court or anything of that nature, I mean, they're perfect in that, as long as you don't have any giant tree limbs or covered in leaves. Even though we kind of ran it in a messy court, still ran fairly well. Pretty fun. All right, guys, I hope you enjoyed it. Again, we're going to do more videos on these over time as we get footage of them and as we get better riding them. And if any upgrades come out, we will definitely let you know. And if we find anything as we learn about them, different tuning, one of the things I think that we can learn a lot about is the steering here and how tight our servo saver, this little spring here, is, or how much space you give it, things of that nature. You can loosen and tighten the back here. These two screws let you loosen and tighten and raise and lower the rear swing arm. And then you also have your slipper clutch. You can tighten and loosen the slipper clutch. all that stuff is going to play into how this thing handles. It's got really good front suspension, the rear shock, how tight that rear shock is, things of that nature are going to change how it handles. So as we learn that stuff, we'll make videos and try to update you on that. And yeah, until then, make sure you subscribe and hit that notification bell. That way you know when that stuff comes out. And if you think these are cool, or somebody else you know would think these are cool, share this video with them so they can check it out. That's one thing that really helps us, is when you share a video with a community or somebody who wants to learn or see what we're talking about. All right, guys, get out there, run your cars, have fun. Or motorcycles in this case.